In the grand scheme of things, conviction is the cornerstone of wealth. When you look back, you'll find that all it really took was an unwavering belief in yourself. For a significant portion of my life, I lacked that self-belief. It was only in retrospect that I realized I should have trusted myself all along, for I was on the right path from the very beginning. The recent crypto crash was a tumultuous period. Did anyone here get liquidated? I'm raising my hand if you found yourself on the receiving end of a 7x leverage liquidation on Bitcoin. Coincidentally, just before the crash, I had tweeted something rather telling: 10x perpetuals are not Bitcoin. Many people believe they hold Bitcoin when they're on 10x perpetuals, but I asserted that they did not. The market plunged to wipe out every liquidation, hitting around $100,000 before immediately rebounding, and I lost my position. I lost the Bitcoins I thought I had, and many others suffered the same fate. The funny thing about perpetuals is that they are a zero-sum game. For every person who lost money, someone else made a fortune. Every loss is perfectly matched with a gain. So somewhere out there, a select few made a colossal amount of money. In addition, the exchanges and market makers are raking in millions. Take Hyperliquid, for instance. They reportedly made $40 million in a mere 2 hours. Where did that money come from? It came from you. It is your money being extracted. If you play in the casino, you should expect to be the one getting extracted. That should be a key takeaway. What is my Bitcoin price prediction? My prediction for Bitcoin is that it is still on track to reach $200,000 by the end of the year. Am I stressed? Not at all. I believe the Bitcoiners are doing just fine. It's the crypto bros, the degenerate gamblers, who are facing the real issues. Many people confuse Bitcoin with crypto, thinking they are one and the same. Sure, it's a digital asset, but that's where the similarities end. Bitcoin is not crypto. Most of the crypto market is plagued by fake volume, fake liquidity, and outright scam coins. Much of it is propped up by market makers. Let's look at the past month. Bitcoin is down 0.5%. If you're holding spot Bitcoin, you're in a good position, set back by maybe a month, assuming you weren't liquidated like some of us. However, Ethereum is down 13%, Ripple is down 18%, and many other altcoins are down 20% to 40%. In my opinion, some of these will never recover. There was a tweet making the rounds that highlighted this perfectly. People were pointing out that Atom went from $4 to 1 cent, Sway went from $34 to 50 cents, and Aptos, Chainlink, and Cardano all experienced significant drops. These altcoins were proving that they had no real liquidity beyond a 5% to 10% range of their order book. There's only enough liquidity for a tiny range around the current price, a concept known as concentrated liquidity. You need to understand this. Ever since Uniswap v3, all decentralized exchanges have adopted this model. We no longer have a smooth liquidity range from 0 to infinity, which is why these assets can drop so precipitously. People are saying that Wintermute, who works with Binance and manages hundreds of millions of dollars, is essentially the market for many of these altcoins because there is very little actual retail demand. When the market got liquidated and market-making activities ceased, many of these altcoins simply collapsed. You'll notice this if you go on any centralized or decentralized exchange and look at some of these altcoins. It might seem like there's a lot of volume with prices flashing back and forth, but when you try to place an order, you'll find that the buy or sell is just out of range and the spread is quite high. As you creep your price up, the market price moves with it. It feels like you're the only buyer or seller. It appears as though there are many orders, but when you try to execute a trade, there's a massive spread, and no matter how much you adjust your price, the trade doesn't get filled. I believe this is because a lot of that liquidity is fabricated. Do you really think there are tons of people trading some of these obscure coins? No, there aren't. So when these tokens launch, they approach a market maker like Wintermute and say, "Hey, we need you to create a market for our token because it's illiquid." They then provide Wintermute with a large stash of their tokens, and Wintermute begins to create a market. Here's my suspicion. With concentrated liquidity, a market maker like Wintermute benefits when a token trades at higher prices because higher prices mean higher fees. So they'll pump up the market cap. They'll say, okay, we'll give this thing a $30 billion market cap and provide some liquidity there. And many people will just trade at that price because these are tokens with no intrinsic value. If I tell you the price is $50, you'll likely accept it. But as soon as the market makers face an issue, the price can plummet to zero. Man, I'm unemployed and worried about my future. I just read your tweet about $10 million plus. How do I reach it? I recently tweeted something I thought was quite amusing and true. Funny how $1 million is basically nothing, yet most people will never even achieve that in a lifetime. $1 million is still a significant amount of money because it takes a long time to earn. Imagine paying 40% in taxes. Let's say you have a $100,000 income, which means you're taking home $60,000 a year. If you're diligent, you might be able to save half of that, so $30,000 a year. It would take you 30 years to accumulate around $900,000. That's 3 decades of hard work for an average person to barely break $1 million. And for many people, $1 million isn't even a lot anymore. I think something like 25% of Americans have $1 million, especially if you own a house. Even $10 million is considered middle class in some circles. It's funny because nobody really cares. It's not enough to earn respect or for anyone to pay attention to you. It'll get you a suburban life and some coupons. The main reason I wanted to point this out was that many people become complacent when they have a stable job. They think they've made it. They say, okay, I've got my nice office cubicle job and I'm good. I'm just going to grind my job, sit back, relax, watch Netflix, and chill on the evenings and weekends. I've got it made. No, you don't. You don't have anything made. You can't just relax. You still need to go and buy Bitcoin. You can't just invest in the S&P 500 and chill. The idea is that many people are aiming for $1 million as their target. Wake up. You're not going to be able to stop there. It's just not what it used to be. Maybe you should think about how to get to not just $1 million, but $10 million. What would it take to get there? Now you're thinking bigger. Now you're thinking in terms of assets because only investing in assets can get you above the 7-figure mark. A lot of hard work gets you to the first million, and arguably the first million is the hardest because it requires the most effort. The people who go beyond that do so through assets, investing, and compounding because a single person's work can only take you so far. Especially with a depreciating fiat currency, you just can't outwork inflation. It's like every year you work, you earn less and less. You're racing against inflation. There's no more socioeconomic mobility. So true wealth cannot be earned. You cannot work for it. You have to marry it, inherit it, or steal it. That is real wealth. Bitcoin is very similar. When you think about Bitcoin, how much socioeconomic mobility is there? I think it's getting more and more difficult as the price is already at around $115,000. If it gets to, say, $200,000 by year end, imagine trying to stack sats at that price. If you even want one Bitcoin, it will be unaffordable for most. And even people who have Bitcoin today, even if the price goes up, it doesn't mean they have more. If you have one Bitcoin, that's all you're ever going to have. That's probably the maximum amount you'll have for the rest of your life, and it only goes down. Even if the price goes up, you still just have one. How do you turn that into 1.5 or 2? It's very difficult to work for it. Leverage might be the only way to do it. You could leverage down 2 to 1, and then when the price goes up, you have more. That's one way to actually increase your holdings, and it may be one of the only ways. But if you're trying to work your way to it, the idea of work has always just been something taught to you by your school, your upbringing, your education, your teachers, your professors, your boss. Everybody told you to just be a diligent worker. And that is all entirely false. Your whole programming and the way you view success and hard work as anything to be proud of is wrong. It's not about hard work. What it's really about is targeted, specific, dramatic action when there's an opportunity. Most money is made in very short periods. It's not like you're just grinding away, pretending to be busy for years and years. Most of the time, you can probably just chill and relax, and then when there's an opportunity, you have to take action. My thesis is that we go straight back up to $125,000 and then higher, and most people will be left behind. There will be many stories beginning with I knew it, if I only bought. Well, don't be one of those stories. It's a subtle line, a very fine line between almost and did. And you want to be one of the few who actually did it. I know many people who will say, oh, I had the idea. Hey, I could have been Mark Zuckerberg. I thought about something like a social network for college kids, too. Hey, we should do this. We should do that idea. Yeah, we should do it, all right. Well, back to work, going back to my cubicle grind. But that's a great idea. Somebody should do that idea. I hear this all the time. Go do it. Why don't you go do it? And this goes back to my idea that if in the past 30 years you missed the 10 best trading days, or was it the 30 best trading days, then you cut your wealth down by half. So most of the time, the way Bitcoin is going to move is you're going to be sitting around waiting a lot. Most of the time, Bitcoin is just kind of going sideways, pretty volatile, and then every now and then it just step functions up and you'll say, "Oh, I missed that step up. Let me get back into my position." You get back into your position, you're waiting, and it just hovers sideways again for a while. You get complacent. You go off, trade some altcoins, and then it step functions up again and you miss it again. And for each day you miss, that's a massive move that you're missing. What level of wealth is making it if $10 million is not enough? Well, look, I'll put it this way. Men don't spend money. Men don't need money. It's the women who spend money, who want the money, and who will measure your value by it. So it's all a status game. Life is a status game, and it always has been. I agree with you that you don't actually need money. I don't spend money because, really, compared to the past, all of us are living like kings already. Even compared to 50 years ago, the poorest person today has a lifestyle that beats that of anybody from that time. So we're all basically rich. We've been rich for a long time, and the money is not really necessary. So I agree that nobody needs the money. But if you think that you can just sit this game out and ignore the status game, you may be sorely mistaken, because maybe all life really is in the end is a status game. You wanted to enter this world and see what you can make of yourself and see how high you can climb on that status ladder. I don't think people came into this world and said they just want to be comfortable because you were already comfortable when you entered the workforce. You were probably living with your parents in a pretty comfy house, and you weren't seeking more comfort. If all you want is comfort, it's already there. Just go move back home with your parents. And that's not too bad of a thing if that's what you want to do. I mean, the whole chase for money is kind of pointless. But if you're going to play the game, you might as well play it well. Real estate, if you think about it, here are the dynamics. Property tax is 1%. Maintenance is 1%, and they may increase that. In fact, maintenance may even go up a lot. Costs are skyrocketing for labor, tariffs, and contractors who are just demanding way more money nowadays. Contractor rates are just skyrocketing. Let's say it's 3% a year. After 30 years, you're down 90% on your real estate investment. You're wiped out. So in 30 years, your real estate goes to basically zero. It's cost you everything. And meanwhile, at the same time, they're still charging you massive amounts of taxes and maintenance. And at some point, you're illiquid and you just have to sell. So you lose the property in the end, too. Thoughts on accumulating Bitcoin exposure via IBIT? Yeah, I think IBIT is pretty good. Some people say ARKB is good. ARKB has lower expense ratios. You can buy IBIT on, say, Robinhood, and you can double down on leverage. Look, you're not going to get liquidated on Bitcoin with 2x leverage. It's probably fine. Okay, I have not learned my lesson here. Did I lose money on Aster? So let me tell you what happened to me with Aster. I did get liquidated on my 7x Bitcoin position, and the wick was just pretty nasty. Look, here's how the market makers work. They see your liquidation levels, and they run a little calculation and say, "Oh yeah, we just need to borrow a flash loan of, $100 million, liquidate this guy, and then pump it back up, and we'll collect our liquidation fee." All right, cool, do it. And that's what's causing all the volatility because all of the positions are open. Everybody sees the positions. Binance probably just sends the positions over to Wintermute. Everyone can see how to liquidate you. Bitcoin went down to like $100,000, nuked everybody, and then it went straight back up, and everybody lost their Bitcoins and were forced to sell at the bottom. I was forced to sell at like $104,000, and it went straight back up to like $113,000 after that. And then the other thing that happened was I was auto-deleveraged on Aster. So I mentioned earlier that I was arbitraging the funding rate. So you short Aster on Hyperliquid and then you buy Aster spot, and Aster has a pretty decent funding rate. And then what happened was Hyperliquid decided to auto-delever my short. I made a profit on the short because everything was going down, but I should have been making way more profit. What happens is everybody got mad at the auto-deleveraging because the way it works is anytime you're about to make money, anytime the market is swinging volatilely in your direction, you get deleveraged. So no matter what, if the market's crashing and you're short, you get deleveraged. They just cut your profits early. If the market is shooting up, they're also going to auto-delever you. They'll just say, "You know what? There's not enough liquidity. We know you're long. We'll just cut your profits right here." And the only way to win this game is to just not play. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Arguably, the smartest thing is to just get off of X. I think it's obvious no one on X really knows anything. They don't know what they're talking about. Nobody really called this. And everybody is out here for max extraction. If you're on crypto Twitter, you are the exit retail liquidity because people go to X to shill. They have an agenda. Everyone's pushing something. Everyone's trying to get you to do something. If you are on perpetuals, you will be liquidated. Guaranteed, every position you have will be hunted. If you hold altcoins, you're buying fake volume and fake liquidity created by market makers because, without market makers, altcoins would have zero retail demand. And maybe what you should do is just go in there, get the bitcoins, and leave and don't touch anything else. Like, I never told you to buy crypto. That was your call. I just told people to get into Bitcoin. The Bitcoiners are telling you to just go get the Bitcoin and be on your way. It's like you're going into a candy store full of poison, and we're saying just go get the one thing that we asked you to get, the Bitcoin, and then leave. But you go in there and you get distracted by all of this other stuff, picking up some random altcoins. That's all on you. The pros, the smart people, never told you to do that. That was your own decision that you made by yourself when you got yourself distracted. I never said to go get any of these altcoins. If you listened carefully, the only thing I told you to do was go get the Bitcoin. And if you go there and you're starting to listen to all these other people and get all this other random stuff, you might get yourself hosed. And if you noticed during the market crash, I noticed the funding rate because I was arbitraging it. The funding rate shot up to like 3,000%. Well, if you were long, you were wiped out. If you were short, your funding rate just skyrocketed, and then the funding rate would eat you away. Let's hear some predictions on the market. What do you guys think is going to happen with the markets? I'll give you my take. I think people are revenge trading. I'm not sure if it's going to end particularly well because everybody's saying, okay, let's just get back into all these alts. Let's get back into all of our positions. I don't think it's necessarily true that these alts are going to go back up. I told you the way I think Bitcoin moves is basically only Bitcoin is allowed to go up. The way it goes is all the coins move up together. Like Bitcoin goes up and everybody else tries to follow. They struggle along trying to move up with it. Now all of these other coins, they can't just tag along with Bitcoin. It's not like Dogecoin gets to just go up 10% while Bitcoin goes up 5%. What's going to happen is Bitcoin is going to just at some point drop a bit, and then everything else is going to nuke down, and then the cycle repeats, and the liquidity basically flows into Bitcoin to create a floor. In my view, Bitcoin is the only real solid liquidity. And I think the crash that we saw created more Bitcoin maximalists because everybody's seeing all these coins just going down 30% and they're like, yeah, this is trash. All of these altcoins are scams. It's trash. It's fake liquidity. None of it's real. And then they see Bitcoin is basically unmoved. I mean, that's the only real thing here. And in the end, you have to also recognize that this has been the smoothest, best-run crash in a while. All of the liquidations happened nice and smoothly. There was almost no bad debt. There were no glitches or hacks. I think mostly people got the trades they wanted. Hyperliquid is fine. Aster was fine. Solana was working fine. The DEXs were working fine. And in that perspective, it is making DeFi and blockchain infrastructure more solid and stronger, battle-tested than it was before. And when people look at this, they're not looking at it like in the future. They'll look at it and say, this thing works. But that doesn't mean necessarily that crypto Twitter is going to make much money off of this. Thoughts on the movement of tech stocks? Is your thesis about tech and deglobalization the same? Well, I would just say that the bubble crash that we saw happen with crypto may very well happen with tech at some point. It would not surprise me at all because we're seeing a deleveraging of all of the excess funds in crypto, and that can happen easily with the AI bubble as well. It's just getting very loopy with what OpenAI and NVIDIA and all of these companies are just circling their funds back and forth between each other, recollateralizing their funds with the tariffs, with the rare earth controls by China. The world is not global anymore. So tech is dominant in an era of globalization. When you can geo-arbitrage labor through H1BS, when you can geo-arbitrage supplies and resources, and then ship your one little website, your Facebook app, to everybody in the world. If you can make a tech product like an OpenAI chip and just ship it to everybody, then maybe that would be profitable, but that's not the case anymore. So there was this news that China is tightening their export controls on rare earth metals. In addition, they are cracking down on NVIDIA AI chips. It's just hilarious because before the US was saying, we're not going to ship you our NVIDIA chips. And NVIDIA was saying, look, we need to ship some chips to China because we can increase our profits by like 40% if we do that. Please let us do it. We'll create a weaker version of the chip and we're going to put a backdoor in it and make it slow. And Trump was like, okay, sure. Now China's saying they don't want it. They're good. They've got their own chips. So how's NVIDIA going to make that money now? Well, they're not. But I would say these tech companies are just ridiculous. This is figure 3. It's so ridiculous when they're using Hollywood filming techniques just to hype you up about this. This isn't going to happen. They even have this thing playing catch with your dog. Not a single hardware product has ever made money. Even the iPhone, most of its profit today, I believe like at least 30% of Apple's revenue today is from the software sales of iCloud. Hardware doesn't make money. The Oculus VR lost money. Every virtual reality product basically lost money and went bankrupt. It's a pretty low-margin business. It's expensive. The US can't even manufacture, and now we have tariffs. Now, of course, it's very cool to talk about it. Everybody loves their gadgets, but that's not really how we make money. The money was always made on the software side. Software is basically done now. It was really creating the software, which was content, in order to sell ads. Push a bunch of content, you make some mobile game or something, and then you sell ads. And it's really just the advertising that was the source of the revenue. The advertisers paid. Now, if you have a robot, well, you better plaster a bunch of ads on the robot and scale it up so that the robot has like millions of views. And if you're not doing that, well, I'm not convinced that it can make money. Then, if you take a look at even game consoles like PlayStation and Xbox, those hardware consoles lose money. They make it back on the game sales. So maybe you have to make a robot which costs you money, and then you have to sell a bunch of subscriptions to ChatGPT or something like that to make your money back on that. So I'm not really bullish on any of this AI robot stuff. And yes, Chinese cheap robots could win. That's right. You have to remember that whatever solution the US comes up with in terms of robots and AI, China will be an order of magnitude cheaper. Do you know BYD cars in China versus Tesla? The US has to put like a 70% or 100% tariff on the BYD cars just to protect the US car manufacturers like Tesla. If we didn't have that tariff in place, Tesla would be done. You could buy an equivalent electric car from China for like $10,000 and it would be better than your Tesla. Same with any robot, dog-walking robot, human, whatever. I don't think the US is going to be able to compete. Not now. It may take us another 30 years to retrain and reskill up a labor workforce that's willing to work hard and have the actual knowledge to actually compete on this front and get all of our manufacturing in. And it's not even that. Our workers are entitled to lawsuits for danger. So, if they accidentally sever a limb, they break a limb while working on a robot, our US factories have to pay the employee like millions of dollars. If you're in, say, China or whatever, and you get injured, you're probably not going to get $1 million payday out of that. It's just the entitlement and the litigation nation that makes a lot of labor very difficult to do in the US because of the liability. The whole liability legal structure, I think, makes it difficult to work in the US. Tesla is trading at a PE ratio of 170. The way you translate that is it takes 170 years to break even on your Tesla stock, and then you're going to start making a profit after 170 years. But these fundamentals arguably don't matter so much. Look, if they want to run it up, I'm all for it. Overall, I think that what Elon Musk is doing, it's great still. It's better than building some Facebook app product. It's better than making Instagram or whatever. So if they want to work on something that betters humanity, like the Neuralink stuff that can really help people see and hear and walk again, I'm all for it. Sure, go for it. Best of luck to that. But will I invest in these robots and cars? Maybe I would have before the tariffs, before the China problem. The problem is that we made China a problem. And I think what China has always asked for and what they want is to just go back to normal global trade. They just want to make money. They want to do business with the US. They want to do business with the world, and they don't want to be antagonized. In my view, they've shown a lot of restraint in not retaliating further. They're trying to de-escalate every step of the way here. You know, they put out this statement, you guys probably saw it, where they're just saying, yeah, we're just always taking a reasoned, principled approach for export controls. We're trying to safeguard national security. We're going to sell you the stuff, the rare earths, just not on the military level. If you're doing it for consumer usages, it's fine. It's just overall a necessary act of passive defense. That's what they're going for. Chinese people are good at copying. They are not good at creativity. Who even cares? Just do it. Do the work, make it better. Whatever. This virtue signaling, this moral superiority, you don't get paid for virtue. Who even cares? So what? Just get it to work. I don't care if it's creativity or just copying or whatever. I want my walking, talking dog for $1,000, not $30,000. Look, here's what happened. Trump came and said, we're going to increase the tariffs. Now he's playing. He always does this. He wants maximum negotiation leverage. So he says, we're going to do a massive tariff increase on November 1st. Now, November 1st just happens to be after their talks. They're scheduled to have their talk in Korea at the end of the month, like October 30th. So he's still going to meet them. This is pure negotiation leverage play. Then China basically had to issue a de-escalatory statement under export controls, and Trump tweeted, "Don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Nobody wants a depression." And based on this, do we just go back up? Well, if the whole news was a non-event, I think Bitcoin should be back at $125,000. It's a big misunderstanding. I think it goes back up. I think if you're using logic, use your brain to think. Don't just use your emotion. You're under fear, you're letting your fear control you. And if you're actually thinking, you'll be like, oh no, it's $125,000, that's where we should be at. Like we just hit the all-time high. You need to remember it was a technical deleveraging. The fundamentals are still in place, if not stronger than ever before, because this is now battle-tested, even stronger. It's more robust than ever. The blockchain infrastructure and everything worked beautifully. Actually, if anything, what you discovered was that altcoins have terrible liquidity. If you enter the casino, you're going to lose your money. So just go in there, get the stuff you need, and leave. Don't touch all the other random jelly beans. Who am I picking in tonight's game? I don't care about sports. Imagine celebrating somebody else's victory instead of your own. Imagine having nothing to celebrate for yourself, so you have to pretend to root for somebody else, rooting for another man to win. Hey, look at that guy, he's cool. Let's hope that cool guy wins. This athletic jock, let's hope he wins. Oh, he won. Now I feel happy too. No, I only celebrate my own wins. Look, you wanted the COVID dip. You wanted the FTX dip. Well, here it is. You wanted the dip. Here it is. And every dip in Bitcoin history has been worth buying. The way this is going to work is everybody in Bitcoin will make money. How? How is that possible? Because they're going to pay you a pittance to relieve you of your Bitcoins for helping to bring about the adoption of a brand new asset class. And there's massive capital. The world is full of money. So if they have to pay you a few $1,000s for helping to bring about a brand new digital asset class, they'll give it to you. They'll just be like, fine, take it. The big institutions are going to come in with hundreds of billions of dollars, and they'll be like, all right, this kid wants like $1 million for his stash. Pay him. Just pay all these kids, and they'll take it from here. We're talking about a global asset class that the whole world wants. How many people in the world want any tech product? How many people in the world want OpenAI? It's like half the world. China doesn't want OpenAI. China doesn't want your NVIDIA chips. I mean, there's choice too. Why would a company want OpenAI when they can go get DeepSeek for free? Well, Bitcoin is just one. There's only one of this. There are no clones of this. So it is the one singular asset that is just unique. There's just one. All of these altcoins, not a single one comes close. And this is something the whole world wants. I know people lost money too, so I'll say this about losing money. The real game is health. At the end of the day, the real game is health. And if you still have your health, then you're still good. So you want to exercise, eat well, get sunshine, and just know most rich people would trade it all away just to be young and healthy again. What you want to be is a time billionaire, not a money billionaire. If you have time, if you have your youth, your health, and then if you've got your relationships, then that's it. You're already rich then. You have what money could have bought. Then you want to learn, create, and find your community. We're going to wrap it up there, you guys. I'm bullish on Bitcoin, and for the altcoins, I wouldn't touch them. I wouldn't play with those. You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You got your warning on those altcoins. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please leave a like and subscribe.